I was born and raised in Colorado Springs. I see Pikes Peak as mom when I come down here. I live in Florence now, and I miss the big mountains. We have like smaller mountains. Anyway, um, these artist talks, I kind of try not to think about them as much as I can because I have a little bit of social anxiety. But this is my show, Constellation. Um, I actually I don't know how to talk about my art. I went to Pikes Peak Community College to learn painting. Uh, it took about 8 years to finish my 2-year degree. But during that time, I learned all the basics of printmaking, painting, drawing, uh, and I was taught by mostly women instructors who I think that like have like impacted my creative process in kind of like a monumental way. Um, I wish Laura Benematz was here. She was the one that like taught me how to paint, taught me how to not make mud with oil paints. Um, and she was a really good mentor. And I know like a handful of people here have learned how to paint under her. Uh, and she was great. And it was a really incredible experience to delve into art history and the tradition of oil painting, which I like to think of myself as like a part of the lineage of the tradition of uh, European style oil painting. Um, I think that the people painting within that tradition right now who have like the strongest and most important voices are people who have traditionally been marginalized in American society. Some of my favorite oil painters are Black men and Asian women and women in general. Kehinde Wiley, Carrie James Marshall. These are people who've like decided to occupy this uh, tradition that was like mostly just done by white men and people with privilege. And I see the moves that they make and uh, try and derive inspiration from them. I'd say like every day, at least on Instagram, I see someone who's like making a move that's like so smart, and I want to copy it and put it into my own practice. Generally speaking, within like the tradition of oil painting, I I'm trying to like reinterpret it through like my own voice and make paintings that like speak to like that tradition, but also have kind of a contemporary feel and understanding of pop culture, the internet, memes, and combine them. So like the idea of constellations, um, it's kind of funny because I usually work really close to deadlines, and I'll have to make an artist statement and title my show within, you know, the confines of uh, art gallery. Um, I have to make like the title and the art statement before I've like made most of the work. Most of this work was made in like the last 2 months, so I didn't know what it like was going to look like. Um, and I thought of this show as I didn't want to be held back by a theme or a central concept or like really like any like sort of confining um, like walls or borders. I just wanted to like have fun making paintings. I thought of this show as kind of a sandbox to kind of like explore um, painting and also just like find my voice in the sandbox, and that's what this show is. So Constellations just like generally refers to the way that I think of my work in general. It's a combination of like different things that I see on like a daily basis. It's like art history, it's the internet, um, it's just things that I want to kind of like combine, collapse onto the surface of the substrate, which they're oil paintings. I thought it was like interesting. Like Greg was talking about uh, in his artist talk um, about like the surface of a painting and how that's like kind of like when I think about painting, like the world kind of like collapses onto this two-dimensional surface, and I get to like explore and like use that as a sandbox and just kind of have fun with it. Um, art historically, I was gonna like have some like things to pass out, some pieces that like some of these paintings are based on historical paintings from like the 16th, 17th century that have been like inspired me as part of like the tradition that I feel like I'm working within. Um, but you'll have to just like Google them and look at them on your phone. Um, this piece right here, Ambassadors, is the first piece that I created for the show, and it references a painting by Hans Holbein. Uh, and like, I don't exactly know how to articulate why I chose a car crash to stand in for the two figures that he had in his original painting. Um, but it was fun to make, and I think like when you're making a painting and like it's like this close to your face, you're inside of it, and I felt like I was like inside of that. It kind of references abstraction, but also figuration and the the anamorphic way that Holbein composed his painting, which like for like the time period that was like really like an unusual move on his part. There's in the original painting, there's like a skull that's like kind of stretched out, and it's like this strange kind of object that if you just look at it from the front, it kind of looks like this abstract figure that doesn't really make sense unless you look at it from another perspective. So that painting itself is referencing that. If you look at it from the side, and like what I like about like some of these pieces is that they kind of require audience participation, and for you to like kind of move to the side of this painting. If you look at it from the side, uh, the trapezoidal outline around the rose, it kind of collapses into like a square, and it's kind of giving multiple perspectives, and the whole uh, the purpose of the piece is talking about duality, doppelgangers, twins, and viewing reality from like multiple perspectives, which I'm always trying to like crack open my brain and look at painting and look at making things kind of like from a sideways view. So that was my attempt at that piece. Um, that's kind of that's kind of it, I guess. I really like audience participation and conversation. So if we like want to talk about these pieces, if anyone has any questions, or if you want to like, well, I learned how to not make mud through going to Pikes Peak. That's where I learned like the basics of art making. And outside of that, I graduated in 2012, and I had my first solo show in 2013. with a mod bow. And over the years, like I've had like maybe a solo show almost every single year up until the pandemic. And that's how I learned how to paint and kind of like find my voice as an artist. My palette changed from being really strongly inspired by the Impressionists, and I was trying to emulate that. But then over a couple of years, I just kind of fell in love with color and how like color can impart meaning or emotion. And just by like showing my work, I've kind of like developed, I guess, my own like personal aesthetic or vocabulary for art making. I had like there was an older woman in the gallery at my opening that was like staring at Hell is Real, and she was asking me like, "What does this mean?" And I that's one of like the few pieces like I can't really like articulate. I was thinking about repetition in painting, so I just painted a McRib uh, over and over, and it made me feel kind of crazy. Because like I like to like paint like new things, like something fresh every time like I approach a painting. It's like, what can I do with this like surface, and uh, how do I translate the fireworks that I have going on inside of my brain and communicate that to like all of you. This I never expect to like um, sell my work. I like kind of keep like the expectations pretty low for that. So in the end, like this is really just me trying to like say something to you, my audience, who like gets to like look at these things not through a screen, but like in real life. And that's why I make paintings that make you kind of like have to move around, change your perspective, or like stare at it for like 10 seconds and then look away, and that's the painting right there. So I feel like with the sandbox, I feel really comfortable in my studio space. It like I don't want this to be like a TED talk where I talk about the flow state, but like my studio in 2023, I had to move it like 3 times, and it's literally just like uh, a table and a set of chairs that I inherited from my grandfather when I moved into my house for the first time, and then an easel that I bought from a friend years ago, and then just like the brushes and the pigments. And um, it feels like this little magical square that I can use like my free will to like exist inside of, and um, I get to make things. But as far as like the challenges, I mean, God, this thing, this thing was so hard, and it was probably the most like challenging thing I've made so far, and it was so gratifying to like actually like successfully like make something that felt like climbing a mountain. And I guess like every piece was a challenge, and my practice, I always like try and do things that are personally challenging and difficult, and most of them are pretty successful. So this just as like a random anecdote, I was gonna make this whole show because like I kind of like make paintings and make shows like from like gut level. Uh, it was gonna be just about horses. So that's the first one, and I thought it was just gonna be a show about horses, but it changed organically. I'm glad it's not just horses. I mean, like I said before, like it's I try and challenge myself and am trying to like explore, I guess, like my own abilities within like the realm of painting, and like it's I'm not trying to flex, but this is like a space where I can really like explore and push my abilities as a painter and as a creator. Um, I mean, calling it a flex, like that's a huge compliment. I'm a nerd, and like these are like places where I can nerd out and kind of like put my like full attention into just like making a thing. And it's the sandbox, and it's just I had so much um, enjoyment from like making this body of work. I'm really proud of it. Uh, it was hard to like how I think like about the world, like almost like a philosophical level. I think that it's like the iceberg model of the human experience, which is like you have this like little like part that kind of like peeks out, and that's what we think of like consciously. But everything else, we're moved by like our like desires that we like maybe like can't even like articulate sometimes, and this is a reflection of that, I think. uh, I made this show from like a gut level in like the sandbox, and just wanted to just make things that people could look at and maybe feel something from, the experience of looking at it. uh, I have like fallen in love with color over the last like probably 10 years, and um, yeah, I don't know. I think about history a lot. It's just like everything, like memes, history. It's all a part of what I want to make. Um, and there's like there's codes of history hidden in some of the paintings. Dazzle. Uh, I'm not a fan of war. I think war is like it really sucks. Um, but the dazzle pattern comes from World War I camouflage, where they would like camouflage the ships with these like really weird patterns, to so that like you couldn't tell like what direction they were actually going. Um, a lot of those like patterns and like just like things are a part of my work because they inspire me and they're interesting like historically, and those are like embedded in a lot of the pieces. Well, what I've been making over the last, uh, I guess, like for most of my career, um, is about like visual language, and like I think about optics with like a lot of these pieces and how they can like impact and affect people. I'd like to make a painting for the visually impaired or the blind. I have some paintings. I have a set of paintings I'd like to make for uh, a pigeon and a dog, because they have like really like unique visual systems. Um, but that's a whole like different, that's a whole different subject matter. But now I don't know. This was so much fun to make. I don't really want to stop. It's kind of a springboard. Every show is a springboard for me, to kind of reevaluate what I'm making, why I'm making it. Um, so this is kind of just like it feels like a really like strong body of work for me, and I want to continue making for y'all. Any other questions?
How much of art history did you study?
So with art history, I think I took 2 classes. Um, I wish I could remember her last name. One of like the most amazing art instructors I've ever had at Pikes Peak Community College, Rebecca Myers. That's her name. And she was actually like nearsighted as she was getting older, and we would like take her classes, and like I'm sorry, she was like just a really impactful instructor to me. That was kind of it, and now I just kind of go down wormholes, and I feel like my understanding of art history is just kind of curated to like what I'm interested in. I think that we talked about our history a little bit, and I felt a little bit ignorant because I don't know everything. You know, I find things that I like and am like attracted to as a painter, because like I understand when I look at like art history books, like what it took to make that, and sometimes it's like it's kind of insane. Uh, and I'm also like being interested in optics. Um, the quality of painting has always kind of developed in tandem with the quality of optics and with glass making and lenses. So if you like research Vermeer or like any of these other artists, they were using technology and using tools, and it gives me like permission to use a projector, because I use a projector for all of my work. It gives like a quality to art making that I couldn't use just with my own body, you know. I'm not a great draftsman. I actually don't like drawing. Um, so using like technology is like a really helpful tool for me personally. I love oil painting because it's like it's really it's instant gratification. You can mix your palette, slap it on, and like it's actually more complicated than that, but but the immediacy of the color that you can get from oil is it's so satisfying. Uh, it's my favorite medium to work with, and I feel like I can like really express myself through oils and like all the layers that it takes. That's the trick. Glazing, layers. It like uh, this piece here. That's at least a couple layers. There's underpainting, and the optical quality of like when you have a couple layers, there's like this information that comes through. Some of it's blocked. It gives a quality to the work that I think is really like it's so exciting when like you put the last layer on and like it just kind of like pops and has this texture. So, thank you.